First of all, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in this particular session. I'm Jamal Mitchell. I'm the CARE champion with the Hidden Genius Project. And in my role, I sort of support the geniuses' sort of holistic needs, both in and outside of the classroom, right? So in the spirit of supporting and better understanding the whole genius, not just the students or not just the one learning the curriculum, but also supporting them as they continue to develop into the young adults they will soon become, right? So with that being said, if I could pass it on to Brian, and then we'll have the rest of you sort of tell us a little bit about yourself. So please introduce yourself and who your genius is and what their cohort is. So you want to start first, Brian? And you're muted.
Can you hear me? All right, my name is Brian Hancock. My son is Legend, and this was his first year, I think, Rich 3, so cohort 3, I believe. So this was a unique experience. He got in basically by one of his teachers referred him to the program because he's heavy in tech, and we basically went down there for the interview, and he got in his first year, and it's been good. So
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Brian. Kava, you want to go?
Hey everyone, my name's Kava Menzies and my son is Imalu Menzies. He's 16 and he just finished the 15-month program at Hidden Genius. And he's also continuing on with Hidden Genius just in terms of relationship and really staying connected to the staff. So I have lots of great things to say about the program, but grateful that we had the 15 months.
Thank you. Nicole?
Hey there, I'm Nicole. My son is Joaquin, and he's 15 years old, just started his sophomore year at Berkeley High. He was in Oak 7 and just finished his 15-month intensive, and yeah, it's just been an amazing experience. His teacher nominated him for the program. His teacher was me. I was his 8th grade science teacher, so I was like, you're doing this. So we had a little bit of argument about him joining because he wasn't too psyched about giving up his summer, but even though we had a little conflict at the beginning, in the end, he'll be real quick to say this was an amazing experience for him. So yeah, thank you. So appreciative.
Thank you. Benta?
Hi everyone, my name is Binta. So my son's name is Lenny Diallo. He finally graduated. As you all know, he started he joined the program years ago. But you know, teenage life, and as a single mom, we had some kind of rough time. So I'm so grateful to find you and see the good outcomes that came from our relationship. I can't thank you enough. I'll be saying it every day, and I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Benta. And then also I wanted to do a quick introduction to Roxanne Leonard, who is also one of our parents, who is joining us by phone today. So we don't get the pleasure of being able to see her, but she'll still be with us in this panel discussion. Roxanne, you want to do a quick introduction? All right, maybe we'll give her some time to catch up. And oh, okay, there you go.
Hi, Roxanne Leonard. So my son is Cameron Leonard, and he was in the Richmond cohort 1. My mom actually nominated him for this. She's a Richmond resident and heard about the program. Cameron was a junior, he was a sophomore when we heard about the program and we applied. As one of the other parents just mentioned, wasn't too excited about giving up his summers, and we had to, convince him, he had to give up basketball in order to do this. But looking back, Cameron's in college now. He's going into his junior year of college. He's still closely connected to the program, and we all look back and we all are so thankful for the Hidden Genius program, the mentoring, the relationships that he's built through the last 4 years.
Thank you, Roxanne. He's one of our educators now, our youth educators. So I'm gonna go on and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the first question. And this is for any of you who would like to answer this question. I think one thing that could help us too is maybe if you give us a visual cue that you're willing to take this on first, and that could help me. And then maybe I might volunteer you here and there. But the first question is, when you first heard, it's kind of a two-part question. So when you first heard of the intensive immersion programming, and that was 15 months, you know, a whole 15-month commitment, what was your sort of thoughts about the 15-month commitment? The other part of that question is, were there other extracurricular activities or other commitments that your genius had to sacrifice to make this work? Go ahead, Brian.
When I first heard about it, I was more worried about whether he was going to be committed. I think that was the biggest thing. It wasn't, you know, as a parent, I knew I can do it, but it was wanting him to do it without being forced to do it, you know, and just the struggle of certain days of, you know, I don't really feel like it today, or, you know, I'm not, you know, it's like, you made this commitment, you got to be there because somebody else that didn't get in could be in. So you have to think about those type of things. So that's kind of like what first went through my brain. And also the struggle of him also wanting to play sports, basketball, football, and more so just being the, he wanted the camaraderie, you know, with his friends outside of school. So to be able to play sports and talk and have fun. But I feel like Hidden Genius also fulfilled that need too, because it was a different type of brotherhood that he was able to, you know, connect with and still have that same camaraderie.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Nicole, did you want to add a piece to that?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually excited about the 15-month commitment because I liked that it was more long-term. And I felt, you know, the longer he was actively involved, the stronger the relationships would be that he would build. So I was excited about that, but similar to what Brian just said, I didn't want to force Joaquin, and I was kind of hoping that I was kind of banking on the fact that he would have more buy-in as time went on. I think the hardest thing for him was not being able to play basketball his freshman year. That was really hard for him. My son kind of struggles with like sitting still in school. So whenever it's basketball season, he's actually more effective in school because he has that as his carrot and outlet. So it was a little bit tough because that was definitely a hole that he felt. But I think Hidden Genius opened up so many doors in it and introduced him to so many experiences that he recognized he wouldn't have had access to. And thank goodness we had that one summer where the kids could actually go in person. The second summer COVID hit and it was a totally different experience, and that was kind of rough. But his first summer he cherished. Like, he was waking up, he was getting on the bus, this was his first day where he was commuting on his own. And I don't know, I saw him grow so much his first year of the intensive. That was really cool to see that like Hidden Genius bring that out in him. And the field trips the first summer, like when he came back from Google or Facebook, he was so jazzed to talk about it too. And that was the first time he wore button-up shirts. So that was kind of cool to see that as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Benta? Sure.
Yeah, so when I saw that Lenny was interested in tech, I started searching everywhere. Like every summer I would want him to join a program, but every program that I search, it says 3,000, 3,500, 4,000, UC Berkeley, Stanford, you know, just different areas. Even Microsoft in San Francisco. That one, they said, no Oakland resident. And I saw the flyer coming from one Alameda school. So I'm like, why not Oakland residents? This is so weird. So one friend came over and he was building a computer, because the computer he's using right now, he built it. And then I told her about it. She's like, oh, did you record it? You need to have a YouTube video of this. I said, oh my God, I did not. And she's like, okay, how about you apply for this program? And then she told me about the Hidden Genius. And then we came over and everything went smooth, you know? So he came for the interview and then he was excited every day. Like every day when he comes back from the program, he would just talk about what he learned. So I was very happy, but I was a little concerned if he would keep up, like keep committed to the program. Especially that rough summer 2 years ago where I had to send him back home to Africa so I can take a break. So because I was really like fed up. But what amazed me is when you accommodated him to go with a computer and just be able to, you know, keep up with the program. Even though when he came back, he's like, oh, you took me back to Africa, so I don't want to be, I'm not interested anymore. But you kept just pushing, you know, following up, calling him, even though he wouldn't reply to your text messages or giving you a call back. So I'm like, this is what Nene needs because you are a man and you know what it takes to deal with a teenager. So, sorry, I was so glad when he finally came back and started responding to your calls, your emails, your text messages, and, you know, he finally graduated, so.
Look at that guy who's also one of our top educators now.
All right, he's a teacher, so.
Teacher.
Yeah.
And he's strong in that role. He's very powerful in that role. Thank you. What I'll ask Roxanne for you to do when you want to engage in answering one of the questions, please just maybe throw a hand raise in the chat. That way I know to hold space for you to add your input as well. Thank you. But moving on, my next question would be, so what encouraged you to have your genius apply for the program in the first place? Go ahead, Kava.
So one of our old neighbors was part of the program. I think he was part of OAK 6, Narati. And he happened to come over to our house and they just casually mentioned that he was part of this program. It was something that he needed to do over the summer. And I got the website, and as soon as we got the website, I think we watched that intro video and there was like a Jay-Z song playing. It had like all the footage of the geniuses and OAK 6, and well, actually I don't know what cohort they were in, but the Richmond geniuses, the Oakland geniuses, and just seeing youth that activated and involved and the variety of things that were offered through the program. I even still, like, that video got us, and I remember going into my son's room and just saying, like, check out this program, like there's nothing like this that exists. And I recognize some of the kids in the video, and just kind of seeing the one-on-one support, seeing the field trips that they took, seeing the student testimonials, just seeing the excitement around what it was that they were building and growing together, just got us both really excited. And it felt really contemporary. Like, I think that's the other thing, is sometimes programs, especially like after school programs or just what is available to youth, oftentimes feels outdated or like not related to what's happening right now. And it felt so relevant that even my son got excited about the video and was like, you know, what is this? And you know, that's what made him eventually want to commit to the 15-month program. So I think that was what got us hooked. And I think my takeaway now is that what that little video snippet was, like, I was just hoping we would get that stuff in the video. And what we ended up getting, like, that video was like a drop in the bucket of the kind of services that Hidden Genius offers. And so I think just the whole time, I would say that as a parent, I continue to be surprised about the scope and the depth of what the program does for geniuses. So that's what got us hooked at first, but it's so much more than even what can be conveyed online.
Jamal, this is Roxanne Leonard. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Please feel free to add your input.
I was just going to piggyback on what was just said. The 15-month commitment, obviously, for us as parents, we were, you know, not a big deal, but we knew for Cameron, you know, a young teenage boy, that was going to be sort of an uphill, you know, maybe battle. And but we saw we just saw the great video. We went to the first meeting where, you know, we met Brandon and, you know, all the mentors. It was interesting because we obviously didn't want to force our son to do something, you know, but we were so excited once we realized the scope of the work that the Hidden Genius Project was offering. So we wanted him to have that same excitement. So we go to that first meeting, and Cameron was one of the older geniuses. He was one of the older ones applying to be in the program. So we were a little nervous about that. But obviously, once we left, and once he, I think, got a sense of sort of what this was going to be, it was exciting. He committed himself that first summer. I mean, I think he was kind of stunned and astonished at all the opportunities, the field trips. He loved just going to the cohort on a daily basis and just talking to all of his mentors and making friendships with the boys that he was with. So by the time he hit the second summer, he had already, you know, part of the 15-month program is where they have to do those office hours. So that was great. That was a great addition because it kept him engaged throughout the year, throughout his school year. And then once he hit that second summer, he was again excited. He knew what it was about at that point. So, I mean, we can't as a family explain how much this program has meant to us. For Cameron, we've seen a lot of growth, maturity in that first summer to the next summer. His whole, I think it just made him realize that and recognize the opportunities that are out there on so many levels, you know, on so many levels. And he's still realizing that, he's still learning that. And if he's, you know, in college now, I think it's opened his mind. I mean, he's still kind of, I'm not even sure exactly at this point, you know, he's pursuing a degree in digital media. I think that's going to stay, but, you know, he's also now a health educator, and I'm listening to him in the other room, and I can hear him talking, and I'm like, wow, that's my son. That's what the Hidden Genius, I mean, I'm blown away. I'm blown away by this whole opportunity. So, yeah, it's life-changing, and so we're kind of excited. I don't know where it's going to go, but that's okay. It's all in a positive direction, so have nothing but good things to say.
Thank you. Thank you for that input, Roxanne. So let's continue on with that same theme. So for some of you, because Roxanne kind of covered this piece a little bit too, but thinking back to the last 15 months of your genius being in the intensive immersion, when was the period where you started to recognize some growth or transformation in your genius? Go ahead, Brian.
I would just say with the dedication, because there were times where us being in Richmond and him basically sometimes want to do office hours in Oakland. You know, it was a transition, and I'm not going to say argument. So we had a couple of debates about how things are supposed to go because he's not the only child, and we have, you know, other things we have to do. And just overall, just his way of trying to make it work for everybody. Of I can do this, or I can, if you do this, I'll find a way to get over here and meet me over here at this time. And, you know, he basically had to, you know, come up with his own schedule, his own routine that, you know, we allowed him to, gave him the freedom to basically, if this is what you say you're going to do, then you got to do it. The moment you don't do it, then you got to follow what we say, because we got other stuff we have to do. So, and he was pretty dedicated, you know. There were times where, you know, when I say debate, I really mean like strong debates, you know, like he was ready to like cry, and, you know, just because he was so mad about, I didn't get to do office hours over here, this, you know, so now I got to go do it this. I'm like, man, you could make the office hours up on, you know, Thursday or Friday, or, you know, call Abe and see what we can do, David, whatever. So, I mean, just his overall dedication basically about making sure that he was there every day, every office hours, and then the extra hours he wanted to put in, you know, outside of being like on his computer or on the phone and stuff like that, you know. So that was, you know, just his overall dedication is like where I seen the growth.
You're muted, Jamal.
Thank you. I was saying I remember the young brother joining us last summer, and he definitely came with, he's definitely a ball of energy. And now I kind of refer to him as a bit of an elder statesman. He took on a bit of a leadership role after a while. So, it's always a pleasure working with that young brother, as it is with all of them. Anybody else wanted to add some context? Oh, Kava, you want to add some context in terms of your genius's period of growth or transformation?
I think the biggest piece of growth that I saw was just a greater level of independence. And I feel like just being a teenager, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. Like he thinks he's a little too independent at times, where I'm like, you're still in high school. And but for me, the big shift was actually at the beginning of the program. And I think it has to do with how Hidden Genius even communicates with the geniuses. Like I was, even how you go to the interview where it's like parent and your child, and you're both coming, but parents were involved, but we take a different kind of back seat once Hidden Genius begins engaging with your child. So for me, with my son, like I remember a big moment was when they were saying, no, like we're going to call him, we're having the conversations, we're emailing him, everything went through him, and then it went to me. And that was so different than what my experience had been with other programs or even through school, where they always go through the parent and then go to the child. So I think there was a level of respect established right off the bat, and accountability that was just never got stated, but was just the way that Hidden Genius communicates with the young geniuses. And so I think that gave him a sense of independence, where I started to see that translate for everything, where I would be doing my normal like parent kind of helicopter thing where I'm following up, or, do you know what's happening, or do you know what the schedule is? Are you up? And he would say, I got it, Mom, or I'm aware of what's happening, or you don't need to parent me in this way anymore. And so for me, the desire to be independent and having an organization that is going to catch your child, but also fosters that sense of self and sense of responsibility and sees the best in them, really gave him a better sense of himself. So I think it helped with some of his self-confidence, and that's an ongoing thing, and he hasn't arrived there at all. But I really appreciate the Hidden Genius for that. It taught me something as a parent as well about how to kind of transition him into that next phase.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Kava. We definitely value that partnership with you as parents and guardians in support of your genius, and also sort of walk the line between making sure that we're encouraging the geniuses to self-advocate, right? But we all have to be sort of playing from the same sheet of music, making sure that we're in line with your values as well, making sure that we're supporting your values as we're working with our young folks. So thank you again. Benta, you had a piece you wanted to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add that, yes, self-confidence, definitely, from my son too. Like just coming every day from the program and talking about it, like talking about new things that they learned. Because we all know that certain stuff, you don't learn it at school. They don't teach you to be an entrepreneur at high school or middle school. And whenever I talk about a job, he would say, do you think I'm going to this program to work for someone? No, I don't want to work for someone. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have my business. And he was really connecting with all the peers over there, calling them brothers. He has friends there. They got together and did some things. So I was really seeing Lenny changing. Like there was the mutation that I didn't expect. And I don't think he would get that from me, being a single mom and working all the time, trying to put food on the table and pay bills like everybody else. But it was just too much for me to focus on Dene. I kind of lost hope at some point. So seeing him, changing from point A to point B, it was really motivating.
Thank you.
It was a big change for him.
Right. Thank you.
Hey,
Go ahead,
Jamal, can I also share? Yeah.
Please.
I just, I wanted to say, like, the very first summer he started the intensive, I saw just this huge growth and development in terms of, as I said before, commuting and getting up and setting his alarm and getting ready. And this was the first time he had ever taken public transportation. And he was just on point. And I gotta say, the fact that you compensate the students too, or the geniuses. And that was huge for him. And he just got on this thing about perfect attendance. He's like, I want the perfect attendance bonus. So that was huge for him. That was the first time I really saw him kind of handling his business in the morning too. Another thing is, when we went from the first summer and then he started his freshman year at high school, the first summer kind of prepared him, because then he had to commute to Berkeley High, and I live in Oakland. So that is an hour-long commute on BART and bus. So that was super training. Going to Hidden Genius helped prepare him for that. But then he also thought he was this big dog when he got to Berkeley High. And we had a lot of conflict. He was acting out a lot when he started his freshman year. And one thing that I really appreciated about Hidden Genius is I had this whole connection of uncles now. I'm not from the Bay. I'm from a border town in Texas. So I don't have any extended family here. And I'm also a single mom as well. So when my son hit the teenage years, I had no, my brother doesn't live close by. There's no uncles. I don't have my parents. So there's no one for me to really turn to and be like, yo, talk to him. I can't handle him right now. But Hidden Genius, I was reaching out to you. I was reaching out to Hadari. Like, I did have uncles and mentors I could turn to. And that was really helpful. And where I saw huge growth is, especially lately, I don't know what y'all said to him, but now when we get into conflict, I see him kind of stepping back and he's like, you right. Or he'll circle back and he'll apologize. Or I see this much more mature side of him now, where he's not acting out so much, or he's, counting to 10, or he's just helping out more. And I know for the rest of his life, if we get in a conflict and I need to reach out to a mentor, I have all of you to turn to. And so that has been huge for me as a single mom raising a teenage boy in an urban environment. So much love for that. That's helped us out a lot.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that. Like you said, you're a guy and you guys have us for life. And I often say to the geniuses, as long as they're willing for us to be participants, and also kind of, even if they're not. I throw in that caveat sometimes, right? Because if we don't hear from you guys after a little while, we'll reach out, try to come find you. So thank you for that. Moving forward, as we've often talked about, our holistic program is intended to support the whole genius, right? And their families through the 15-month program, right? So we definitely put a great emphasis on the holistic support again, speaking to the whole genius. So wanted to ask, from your experience, why do you think it's important that we continue our sort of holistic approach to supporting geniuses through the 15-month program? Go ahead, Brian. Thank you.
Well, I think it's important just based on it being just the consistency of them pretty much being able to, as young adults, young teens, whatever, being able to communicate with their peers and people outside of their family that can kind of, like Nicole said, like lend a voice, to where they're not trying to hear you. It may be third party. You know what I'm saying? It may not come directly from me. If I say it, it sounds like it's one thing, but coming from Brother Jamal, it's like, okay, I understand. I get it. Or coming from one of his peers, it's like, oh, no, my mom said the same thing and my dad said the same thing, but this is what they really mean. He has other outlets, instead of being able to hold it in, basically. And it's a way to get it out. And basically it helps kind of like with the peers. It's almost like they're growing together. Like Hidden Geniuses, they're building a community, but they're starting out. The community is still growing, but it's starting with them. And then like you have other, like the lady's son, he's a teacher now. He's still with the Hidden, he's in college. Like they want to come back and give and help, the next generation or next youth coming up. So it's like, that's kind of like what's been instilled in them, like to always come back and give, and in a positive way. It's more than just sports and, music and everything. It's like, okay, there are other things. When you're able to see yourself in that light and see it, then you can go and give it to somebody else and say, you don't have to see it this way. You can, there are other options, other doors, and you guys are help giving them the tools to basically go out and approach it that way. You know what I'm saying? With whatever it is, whether it's the trips to Google and all that, like to go and see it. It's one thing to hear about it, but when you go see it and visit it, it's like, this is real. It's reality. It's tangible. I can touch this. So I think it's important just in that way that, that they're able to just see it from that perspective and then come back and give it to the next generation. And it's almost like a franchise. It's like you get it up and running, and then you keep you keep it going. Like, okay, this is what works. It's proven and tested. So they're gonna come back and give you everything that's proven and tested, from the Hidden Genius. And just in itself, the program for me, just in the name Hidden Genius, it's a lot of parents that don't know that their kids are geniuses, or they don't know that the range that their children have, basically for whatever whatever's going on in their life, whatever. So that in itself, the name to me is just important, because to me he is a genius. When the way we got into the program from the teacher recommending him is, when he was little, I never talked to him like, I want you to go to this school or this. He wanted to go to MIT. I'm a sports guy, so I think about sports, so he was just like, I want to go to MIT. And I'm like, where did that come from? But that was his own thing. And I said, okay, well, whatever it's going to take to help you get there, I'm going to help you. So even when he got into Hidden Genius, it's like, this is another outlet or a way to help you achieve your goal, whether it's references to other people or, whoever you, basically come in contact with. It's there are always going to be some doors open for you. So that's kind of like, another reason why we got in the program. And I just feel like the way he carries himself now is different. Like you said, Brother Jamal, you seen it from the beginning. Even and he goes to a military school. Even the military people were just like, yeah, he's kind of wild, running around, jumping off of benches and, all type of stuff. So he's tapered down. He's more calm and more focused. And just, I can see the certain things I ask him that, he's learning. He's able to basically reciprocate. Like, he can put it back out. Everything that he's learning, he can basically tell me, oh, this is this, or why would you do that? Or, and help me understand stuff that I don't know. So I think that, that's why you guys got to keep the approach to me.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Brian. That brother definitely stepped up in terms of his leadership skills. He jumped. He's a natural. We didn't even have to push him. That was his own growth, right? Kava, did you want to add a piece?
Yeah, I wanted to, like, when you talk about the holistic approach, I think of like the whole person. And I feel like everywhere that our kids have to go, especially at school, they're oftentimes not dealing with the whole person. It's just the subject. It's like what it's the math class, it's the English class, whatever the topic is. And that is what the kid is supposed to focus on. And to me, the holistic approach, like, the only place they usually get that is with family, or they get it with friends, maybe, where they're sort of validated as the whole person that they are. And I think that's where the trust comes from. And so I think you all build trust with our geniuses because you do that holistic approach, because you take the time to find out who they are. You take the time, some of those check-in meetings like blew me away. Like, when we would sit down and have quarterly meetings, I'm so used to school meetings where they just want to like check a box. Like, yes, we met with the parent. Yes, we took 10, 15 minutes. We asked really surface level questions. It's just the formality of it. Where for those meetings that we sat through, they were hour-long meetings. Like, you gave so much room for my son to express himself. You gave a lot of room for me to express myself. You asked about family environment, home. What had we just been through? What are we going through currently? You would take notes on it and then follow up, a quarter later. And so it just blew me away because it was so thorough. And it gave me a lot of confidence in Hidden Genius that you were really taking into account like our unique circumstance. And I also feel like it built trust with my son because you would see things in him and take the time to explore things with him that I don't think any other formal setting would do. And so for my son, at least, he stopped actually wanting to go to his school. Like he made the decision where for the second half of the day, once he finished his academics, he was saying, can I do Hidden Genius? Like, I want to actually go to office hours every single day because this is the only place that I feel seen. And those were his words. I don't feel seen at school. I don't feel understood at school, but I feel seen when I go to Hidden Genius. And that to me was like, okay, they are doing something really special and really unique. So please keep doing that. I think that's the key. The entrepreneurship and the technology and the subject area is beautiful. But really, to me, the key is that being paired with the care about who the individual person is. So thank you.
I appreciate that context, Kava. And I do miss seeing the young brother hanging out with us pretty much every day. And I look forward to doing that again soon. But thank you. Moving forward, oh, Benta, you had a piece?
Yeah, I would love to add a piece. We need holistic support because, as I mentioned here, I was born and raised in Senegal, so I'm raising Dene in between two cultures, and this one is dominant because he was born and raised here, so he's American. If you try to raise them the way you were raised back home, it won't work. That's what I noticed. And when he started connecting with you guys, he was very open, like the way Nene talked to you, he wouldn't talk to me that way because I tend to use force and blame and just not see what he's capable of. But you were very patient with him. You would listen to him. I didn't have that patience at all because I was like, this boy is seeing me, his dad is not around. He's been gone since. And with everything that I'm doing, he's still doing bad things. So I just couldn't take it. And he's so young to realize that. But you were very patient with him, listening to him. And I think that's all that teenagers need. They just need someone who would listen to them and just motivate them, be patient with them. So they definitely need that support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely very patient with Nene.
Yeah.
You got something else to add, Nicole? Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing that was really helpful and beneficial to Joaquin is when he started high school, he's always kind of struggled in school. And in middle school, I was there, we were at the same school, so I could be that force to catch him and advocate for him. But as he started high school, he was struggling, and I called a family meeting and I knew I could rely on you to show up too. And that felt super powerful that I could call, Hidden Genius, and I reached out to you, Jamal, and when we had an SST and we had a meeting with his educators, you were there too. And I could actually see this little shift in his educators when they saw that there was this wraparound organization there too. And they often brought it up as well. And I think it meant a lot for you to collect that information and also share what you saw about Joaquin, because Joaquin brings a different person to Hidden Genius than he brings to school. I notice when he's at school, he plays like, I don't know, he takes on this character that he's the funny guy, he's the social guy, he's the guy that's escaping and going to the health center every day during math because he knows they legally can't say no. So he's always skipping out in school, and you see a totally different side. And it was great for his educators to hear that too. So just knowing that you're part of his team, you'll show up at the school, that meant a lot. And that's a piece that has been essential for us as a family. So thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that. And like I've often said, I appreciate you guys so much for allowing us to be able to partner with you. That's not always easy, right? I'm glad that we've been able to develop in our working relationship in that way in support of your genius. But of course, it could be challenging sometimes, but that's why we try to make sure to focus on the whole person, right? Because sometimes it might not be about what's happening at school or at Hidden Genius. It's just like, I had a bad day, or this is a bit much right now, or whatever the case may be. But again, I appreciate you so much for even allowing us to partner with you. I'm gonna move on to another piece, and here comes that deep dive, Nicole, right? So thinking about your experience, again, being the parent while your genius is in the 15-month immersion, what do you think about your own sort of growth during that time? So do you feel like you've grown personally during the time that we were sort of working in support of your genius's success? And Roxanne, also feel free to chime in on that one or any others if you'd like.
Thanks, Jamal. So let me hear the question again. So do you want us to comment on how we feel we as parents grew?
Right, so I was saying in terms of your own sort of personal growth, have you noticed any personal growth you've had during the time that we were partnering in support of your son?
Well, I'd say yes. I think a couple of parents mentioned as your children are going through this program and you're watching them, and it's a bit of a journey watching our young men go from sort of, young, immature, maybe they're kind of as young teenagers, not sure where they're going, and they kind of want to argue with you about things, and oh my God, I got to have to give up my summers, or I don't want to do this or that, and then they get involved in this program, and you start seeing them grow. And I think one of the parents mentioned, I go, oh my God, that was exactly my experience, was when your child is coming back, and Cameron has come back, and I'm like, wow, he said some stuff where, oh, Mom, I got this, or I don't have to check in on him on everything. So for me, the growth has kind of been like taking a step back and going, oh, okay, well, I don't need to monitor him as much as maybe I felt like I did before. He's handling this, or the hidden genius, the mentors are checking in on him and making sure that, he's being accountable for, whatever it is that he needs to be accountable for. So it's kind of, it takes a village, right? And I'm so glad that you guys are a part of my village now. And as far as a holistic approach, I've honestly never experienced this approach personally on any level at any organization. I work for a big company, never felt like this. So this is a great model. And I think when we first went to those initial meetings and I heard you guys talk about it, honestly, because I've never experienced it, I'm sort of like, well, I don't really know. I hope that they, can achieve all of these goals that you guys have laid out. It was hefty. And because I've never seen it in action, it's hard to believe it until you see it. So 4 years later, you guys still stay in touch with my son. You're still giving him opportunities. That blows my mind. I love it. You're walking the walk and talking the talk. So it's extremely validating as a parent to watch it, and I definitely feel like validating it for my son. I can see it in his maturity.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely another one of our strong educators, young Cam. And it's great to partner with him in a new way, right? So that's another thing that's unique about this opportunity is working with these young brothers holistically, but then also kind of shaping out to be sort of colleagues and working in support of these geniuses, now supporting new geniuses and other students out there in the community. But thank you. I appreciate that. So moving forward, what was your impression of the Hidden Genius Project now that your genius has fully completed the 15-month immersion? Did you have new thoughts of the program as your child? And I think this is kind of what Roxanne just touched on, but now that your young person is a graduate, how do you feel about the program in this current space from, maybe differently than how you may have felt about the program initially? Shoot, Kava, thank you.
Like my vision is that I just stand on rooftops with a megaphone and yell, the Hidden Genius Project is amazing. And just like for anyone who will listen, because just completely exceeded my expectations. Roxanne, I think that's your name on the call. It's just, I had that same impression where like, could they really live up to all the things that they laid out, because I'd never experienced it too. And I think we probably all feel the same way. It's beyond anything that I could have even anticipated in terms of support. And for me, what's amazing is that it doesn't end after the 15 months. And hearing that you're 4 years down the road and you're still getting calls and still able to tap in is huge. So yeah, it just continues to exceed my expectations. I think it continues to get like better and better. And I know you are always looking for feedback and self-reflecting as an organization. So for me, yeah, I'm gonna get that megaphone and just scream it from the rooftops, because people need to know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So again, your impression of the Hidden Genius Project now that your genius has completed the 15 months immersion, and also sort of your vision for Hidden Genius Project. Go ahead, Brian.
I would just say that it's more than just a program. So to me, it's a family. So a lot of them, you know, they deal with each other. Even since COVID and stuff like that, they still talk to each other, and they still reach out and check on each other, you know, beyond the program, just how you doing in life, you know, what's going on. So as far as my expectations, I don't really know what to expect. You know, I just knew it was something that he had to be in, and it's kind of like, I don't know if I had the words for it. Like it's beyond what I thought I would. If I was going to expect something, it went beyond that, and it's still kind of like Kava said, is when we first went to the interview process, I remember having a conversation with you, and we were talking about the kids that were graduating the program then, and, you know, how does that work? Like, do they come back afterwards? Where, you know, do they still want to teach and stuff like this? So it's, you know, to hear and see that there are still kids, you know, 4 and 5 years out the way, you know, and they come back and they want to, you know, they may implement their own program in the Hidden Genius program. So they may go to school and come back with a different facet of something else that you guys don't have. And, you know, Brother Jamal, let me run this, or let me do this in this area right here. So that's kind of unique to me. And just overall, I want to say just it's inspirational. Just the inspiration, you know, it's that is key. Just to be inspired, you know, sometimes a lot of youth, they just inspired to do stuff. You know, just kind of go through the daily motion or daily things like, this is my community, this is what's going on. You know, I'm a product of it, you know, so the overall inspiration, like, I mean, he's been more inspired to do stuff even more, you know. I want to learn about this, or I want to do this, you know. It's just certain things. So I think overall the program in itself is the inspiration that it inspires to the youth is amazing to me, personally.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Go ahead, Benta.
Okay, so like he said, this program is more like, because it's not like you teaching our kids how to, like you don't introduce them to the technical and just let them go. You with them, you're on them. Like, I was truly impressed when you in Eugene and you were available to go meet with Lenny's teacher and just check out his grades, how he was doing at school. And I could rely on you, like when they give you a phone calls, either you or anybody else in the program, you would just be so responsive and would be able to just help. Because our kids, that's what they need. I was so used to getting calls from teachers saying, hey, your son got get suspended, your son was doing this, your son was doing that, like every day something going on. But under this program, I don't remember getting a phone call saying, hey, and then I did this, you need to do this. Because you knew exactly what to do with these boys. You know, you would either talk to them, call them, keep on talking until something else comes up, you know, like a change, a big change. And that's what we are hoping to get from educators, even though we have to do our parts at home, but still at school, it's not just about, you know, having some PowerPoints, teaching them and just letting them go. Every kid is different, and every one of them has a different personality and come with problem and issues that, you know, I think as a mature person or teacher, you should be able to just kind of see it and know how to help. So yeah, it's like a family.
Thank you,
And
Binta. I
about it,
appreciate that.
we have a program like this in the Bay Area. We don't. I haven't seen it, so I spread the word. I talk about it all the time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so, and just to add on to the question, right, the other piece that we want to look for is sort of your vision for us, right? And part of that is in our effort to continue to grow. I think some of you know we've expanded. This summer was the first summer that we've included a LA cohort. So now we're Richmond, Oakland, and LA, and then there's going to be some more expansion down the road, right? So when you think about the Hidden Genius, from your experience, what do you think your vision would be for us as we move forward and continue to grow? Like, how would you like us to expand upon what it is that you think we do particularly well? Or thank you. Go ahead, Nicole.
I would love to see Hidden Genius kind of use our geniuses as a way to educate and make connections with the Latino community. Because I would love to see us empower the Latino community to enter the tech world as well. I would also love to see the Latino community see young Black men in leadership and educational roles. I don't typically think that the Latino community looks towards the Black community as being, I'll be frank, there's a lot of racism between the Latino and Black community. And I would love to see unity and connection developing between those two communities. So it'd be great to see like tech camps or summer camps where we have our Black boys, you know, reaching out and teaching young Latino youth. I just want to see that partnership. And I think this could be an amazing outlet for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Roxanne, do you have a piece about, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
I ain't gonna hold you. I just want to say
your
this.
vision for Hidden Genius Project.
I just want to say this. I think my vision, it may not be your vision, but where I see it is Hidden Genius is a school. I see it, you know, becoming a school from, you know, K through 12. And you know, and they get that, like you said, a holistic from a young child all the way up through the teen years and you know, young adult. So that's kind of where I see, like, you know, still having the, you know, the program and doing it, but also having a school at the same time. So that's kind of like my vision.
Thank you. Sounds exciting. Go ahead, Binta.
I would love to see the Hidden Genius giving the same opportunities they are giving these boys to girls, to our girls too. Yeah, I have a, she's not really interested in tech. She wants to be a nurse, but still, I know so many young girls who would love to be in the tech world too.
Thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
Roxanne, did you have something you wanted to add? In terms of your vision for us?
So Jamal, to tag on to all these great ideas, I was thinking the same thing. Definitely would love to see it expanded to, even though I know there's programs out there like Girls Code, I'd like to see expanded to girls. I like the way Hidden Genius is, you know, you guys have set yourselves up, and I know that as the years continue, that you guys are only going to get better. So when I think of your expansion, I'm like, oh, this would be great for young Black girls. And I also, you know, this is a hefty goal, but I mean, you're starting with teenagers, but I also, you know, there's older, young 20-something-year-olds that might have missed this opportunity. And to Brian's point, sort of like a school for everyone. I don't know. I mean, that's huge, but I know that there are people in their 20s, maybe even 30s, that would like to come back or would love to have a partnership like this. So that's long-term, but definitely something I'd like to see you guys aspire to.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. So moving on, and if you can identify one, what was your favorite or most rewarding moment for you or your genius while they were in program? Go ahead, Brian.
I would have to say mine would be it was, I think you guys had it at downtown Oakland where they were like halfway through their project, and you guys had an event to where they all had to come and basically show all the parents and everyone there like, you know, what they were working on. I think that was like great, you know, just to see like all the different things that they were working on and just the ideas and where their brain were, the websites and the businesses and stuff like that. I thought that was probably one of my favorite moments. So
So you're talking about the end of summer celebration, I think.
no, it wasn't the end of summer. I think it was before then. It was like halfway through. You guys had it like I forgot where it was, like downtown Oakland, where they came and everybody had to have on like a Hidden Genius shirt.
Oh, when we had the potluck?
No, it wasn't the potluck either. It was before that. It was, I forgot what I cannot think when it was, but it stuck out to me because he was basically, that was one of the times we got into a debate because he was procrastinating about where he had to be at that stage. And I usually leave his computer at home, and basically he was like, oh, I need it because I had to finish XYZ, so I had to drive all the way back to get it and bring it to him. And he was so worried about how he's going to dress. So I got to look cool, but you guys made everybody wear Hidden Genius shirts anyway, so it was no point. And so I was like, you got all frustrated about nothing, you know, because everybody looks the same. Everybody was dressed in the same Hidden Genius shirt, but it was in downtown Oakland at one of the hotels, I believe, or something like that.
Okay.
But that was, I mean, people came in and they basically had to show like what they were working on. So I thought that was pretty good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Kava, you had a piece you want to add?
It was the same event for me.
Okay.
I think it was in the Rotunda building in downtown.
Yeah, the end of summer, yeah.
End of summer, and I had the same experience. Like and because it's early on in the program, or like halfway through, a little before halfway through, you know, my son is really introverted. And so he was so nervous about, like, he's never done anything like that, where there's just like a sea of people and he's having to pitch his ideas and talk to people he doesn't know. Like, he was like, Mom, no way. Like, I only talk to people I know. And so I was nervous for him and didn't know how he would do. And just watching like everyone gets elevated in that space because everybody's doing the same thing, and all the geniuses, and even the way you have them positioned where they're facing out and you can just look at this sea of excellence, you know, just in the round like that. And I just sat there and watched my son in awe because I'd never seen him. There was like an energy inside of him, even in how he was presenting and talking to people, where I didn't even know it was possible. I had never seen him take on that kind of like professional salesman demeanor, which was really cool. So that was a highlight for me, and not just to see my son, but also just to see all of the geniuses doing that. That just felt incredibly powerful.
Thank you. I remember that. I remember catching the moment of you watching your genius pitching to somebody, you know, this complete stranger, but talking with great pride and confidence about his project. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Nicole.
I would say there's two really big defining moments. The first moment is when we had that interview day, and Joaquin was super on the fence. He's like, I don't know about this. He wasn't really too sure. But there is a point where you're having a lot of geniuses speak to us, and James Green walks out. And I was James Green's science teacher, and Joaquin knew James Green. Joaquin was like a toddler, and I would bring him to work sometimes. And he and James had this cool little vibe going on. But James was always this kid that would cut up and get in trouble, and I was like the safe classroom he would escape to when he got kicked out of other classes. But Joaquin knew he was kind of like the troublemaker, but in this moment, he saw James Green had kind of turned his life around, was building his business, was speaking so charismatically, and Joaquin was like, whoa, wait, what? And I was like, whoa. And then there was this moment where James just stops in his speech. He's like, Miss Elise? And I was like, hi, James. And it was just like a really beautiful moment. And Joaquin was like, wow, this program has turned James around. And that was a defining moment where he had buy-in. He's like, if this program can do that for James, wow, okay, what can it do for me? And a second defining moment was when Joaquin got back from his field trip from Facebook. And he was like, oh my God, Mom, they were so excited about my app idea. I made this pitch, and folks were like, whoa, that's a really big deal. So he had this app idea of you know, linking a weather app, your calendar app, and your closet, where his app would automatically generate outfits for you to wear based on like what you had going on in your calendar and the weather. And like Facebook was like, oh my God, that's awesome. I'm like, dude, they want to steal your idea. But that was the first time where he had this validation of, I have good ideas, Mom, and I'm a good public speaker. And it was just this like moment where he saw himself as an entrepreneur. He saw himself as a public speaker. He saw himself as a potential businessman. And he just came back glowing from that field trip to Facebook. That was pretty dope.
Thank you. Go ahead, Benta.
Yeah, he was thrilled to be able to go to field trip to big tech companies, to be able to see what it's like to work there and network and know, you know, where he would want to be in the future. And then being able to be exposed to successful people, like successful Black people at the program. I think that was when you were at Glover Center. Sometimes some very successful people would come over and just talk to them. He would come back home and just talk about it. And that was good. That was very good for him to just hear those people tell about their stories, like where they come from, how they made it. Very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you, Benta. Roxanne, did you have a piece you wanted to add to a favorite or a moment that you recall for either yourself or your genius while he was in the 15-month program?
I thought I was muted that whole time. Yes, so there was a end of year celebration, but it wasn't your September. It was the year he graduated, and you guys had an event in Richmond at a school, I believe, but I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the school. And I remember Cameron had to present. He had to present there before he went to the Richmond, the end of year celebration in Oakland. And I remember, you know, me and my husband and my mom were there, and I was blown away by. I think that's the first time I saw my son publicly speak, and I mean, not really. I don't know. It was just amazing to see the growth. I can't even say growth because I guess I never really viewed him as a teacher, or I saw him as my child. And so to see him get up there and talk about what he had been working on, and he was funny, and he was, I just was blown away to see your child grow from the goofy, you know, just not even goofy, just kind of, you know, just a teenager. And to see him get up there and speak and be funny and have the room, you know, listening to him and laughing, you know, it was nice. It was nice to see him in that light. And that's when I think even my mom and me were both kind of looking at each other in amazement. And I think for us, that's when he in my mind went from being just a regular little knucklehead boy to, like, I could see him as a young man at that point, and I go, oh my God! I mean, it's just everything that you guys have done. It's just been an ongoing journey of amazement as parents, just to see your child go from, like I said, just a knucklehead kid with sort of just kind of all over the place, to somebody that you go, oh my God, he's enunciating his words. He's actually shaking people's hands. He's not being shy. He's getting out there. So, yeah, it's been a great journey.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your feedback, Roxanne. All of you families, I appreciate your feedback. Again, I appreciate the partnership that we've been able to have in support of your genius. And I'm looking forward to what this partnership will continue to look like as your young people continue to grow and they continue to rock with Hidden Genius Project.